Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Can you see my face as well?
Yes, ma'am. I can see your face as well.
I don't see you. Doesn't matter, no? The PowerPoint is full screen.
Oh, yeah, true.
Maybe I'll do that in full screen. Okay.
Hello everyone. We will wait few more minutes, and then we will start. Thank you for your patience. Okay, should we start the session, ma'am?
Yes, perfect. I'm here.
Okay,
So,
so good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you joining us today for this crucial webinar on the topic fostering unity amidst diversity. I am Drishti Banola. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in psychology from Banaras Hindu University, and I'm deeply honored to be your moderator for this session. In today's world where divisions and conflict often dominate the headlines, it's more important than ever to explore ways we can bridge our differences and embrace a more cosmopolitan outlook. This attitude, rooted in empathy, understanding, and respect for diverse cultures, is a key to build a more cosmopolitan and inclusive society. Our today's speaker is a distinguished academic and practitioner whose work truly exemplifies the power of understanding and unity. Originally from Italy and currently based in Germany, our speaker's journey reflects a profound commitment to exploring and promoting cosmopolitan values. With extensive experience as a researcher and lecturer at prestigious institutions, she brings a wealth of knowledge to our discussion today. She holds two PhDs, one in psychology and the other one in philosophy. Our speaker is also a registered clinical psychologist and a qualified CBT therapist, alongside being an author. Quite an all rounder, I would say. Here to discuss how we can cultivate a cosmopolitan outlook for a peaceful world. Please welcome Dr. Barbara Gabriella Renzi. We are truly very privileged to have you here with us, ma'am. Please add something
um,
to this.
so thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. I'm really honored to be with you, and I'm really thankful for this lovely presentation. Today, I'm going to speak about cultivating a cosmopolitan attitude for a peaceful world, and I'm speaking about philosophy and psychology as well. Eh, I'm advocating curriculums in school that is interdisciplinary and focus both on psychologies and humanities. Um, in order to have a peaceful world, we need to have a better education all over the world. So an education that doesn't just focus on mathematical abilities, science, which is important, but focus on interdisciplinary curriculum. And studying psychology is a key point, and study philosophy is also a key point. Because we have to learn about emotion, about human beings, we have to improve our analytical abilities, and we have to know the world as well. And studying philosophy, literature, and psychology help us to understand the world in which we live in. And that's why this is the reason of this presentation, which is in between philosophy and psychology. I have to say that philosophy comes from psychology, as you already know. So I would say it's between psychology and the roots of psychology as well that are in philosophy. I believe that I believe it's important also to study the roots of psychology as well. So this is the structure of my talk, and you see, I'm speaking about different kinds of author. I'm speaking about ancient Greece, Nussbaum, Appian, and Parfit as well, but I'm also speaking about psychology, how psychology is important, and I will have some case studies at the end. My talk is quite long, so if you want to interrupt me, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm actually not doesn't matter. I will be really happy and honored to answer to your questions. So we start with the definition, and so we human beings, we don't belong just to a single community. We belong to many communities, and we have a shared humanity, which is a shared morality. So we have to,
Just a second, ma'am.
yeah,
Sorry for the interruption, but before
no,
moving ahead, I would like you all that your mics and cameras are disabled for a smooth transition. And if you have any question, query, or any insights you want to share, you can simply type it in a chat box. And also, it would be better if you all will open your cameras as well for more connectedness. Thank you. You can start now.
yeah. So how do our goal here in this presentation is okay, we have to reach this cosmopolitan attitude, that we have to promote a world peace. How can we do that? And there are some philosophers and psychologists that help us to do that. And before going into what they say, and just to have our talk a bit structure, we have to speak about the principles of cosmopolitanism. So we have a universality, we have a global responsibilities, and opens and tolerance. I'm not going to define all of them. It's here written, and I'm sure that you have also feeling for that, which is important. So, and it's important to say as well that cosmopolitanism is not a new in new idea, and I'm tracing its root in ancient Greece, but I'm pretty sure that every civilization, every culture can trace back its root in some philosophers, some academics that they have in their culture. I'm coming from Europe, so the philosophy in Europe was born in Greece. So that's why I'm tracing the roots back to ancient Greece and Diogenes. Diogenes was then we can speak. People speak also about Kant. I'm not going to speak about Kant today. Because there was no time, and it's more political philosophy, but I'm mentioning here in this slide because if you want, you can uh, study and learn about him on your own time. But I'm really focusing on Diogenes. Diogenes was a fantastic, between an activist and a scholar, was a thinker. And this is what I'm telling you, it's between myth and history. So anyway, he was part of the Cynic schools in ancient Greek, which was a form of philosophy, but a form of psychology as well. He was saying that human beings belong not to a single community, but we have this shared morality. And So let's talk about him. He was, as I told you, a Greek philosopher, and his thoughts and action laid the foundation of cosmopolitan thinking. And I have to say here also his action, because if you just think and don't act, probably for this school of thoughts and for as well for us as a psychologist, you are not you're really a complete person if you just think and don't act what you think is right, what you think makes you feel good, or what you think it's right. And
Excuse me, ma'am.
yeah,
Is it the first slide that you are sharing right now?
Yeah, I'm sharing the slide. Can you see them?
Yes, but we can just see the first slide.
I'm sorry about that. I'll start again.
No, no
Okay.
problem, ma'am. Now it's clear. Yes.
Can you see them now?
Yes, ma'am. We can see it now.
Okay. And so I'll do this way. So and so he was, as I told you, um, emphasizing the importance of each human being has inherent worth and equality. He emphasized virtue like self-sufficiency, austerity, and moral integrity. And he actually was really a free person. The legends tell us when a very important man went to speak to him, and um, mm, he this is how the myth goes. He was living in a large ceramic jar, carrying a lamp in a daylight, claiming to look for an honest man. So that was what was the myth telling us, and the myth goes on telling us that he wanted to expose hypocrisy and superficiality. So when this a very important man, Alexander the Great, went to him and speak with him, saying, "Look, I'm Alexander the Great. I want to speak with you about honesty and about morality and life." And he told me him, "Look, move on. And what the myth is telling us. And here there is a bit of history, and we are not focusing on the history because we have to focus on the concept. Focusing on a living a virtual life, and it doesn't matter what kind of societal status or local custom you have. Like who doesn't want to hurt other people. So he was not saying you're important man in society, you're more valued than myself. No, we are all the same. And to show that in his action, he was living in this barrel, which is a bit strange and to think about it, but it was really a radical. And you can accept his action or not his action, but his message it's very important for cosmopolitanism. It's very important because it's telling you we are all the same. You can be important, you can be coming from far away, but we are all human beings. And in ancient Greece was where we had slaves and we have women that count a bit, sorry, a bit less in society was really a strong point. And then we go back into the future, and I would like to speak about a woman philosopher, and who worked a lot also on emotions. So emotions, we know it's a psychological topic, but to show you how psychology, philosophy, in change in society are one and the same. No, we have to speak about this woman who was a philosopher. So for her, she studied emotions as well, and she's a woman. So many philosophers, many important philosophers, or many important psychologists are men, but she's a woman. She's still alive, and she's very important. So she speaks about two important topics: cultivating humanities and global justice, and she does that in a particular way. And so let's go back, step back, and if you're curious to know, it is her life. So you have to know she's American, she's still alive, and she has a what do we say, an interdisciplinary approach. So we have philosophy, psychology together. Although she called herself a psychologist, and her approach goes into the world, trying to change the world. Okay, this is just a summary, because maybe if you want to know that, um, um, what does it mean that her approach goes into the world, that she has practical application in public policy. So what she's saying, which is cosmopolitan, she's trying to do that in the sense that we have the theoretical part that she comes from her, and it is interdisciplinary, going into practical application, saying, look, the law, the various laws in the world must be changed, or we have the rich part of American society has to collaborate with other society around the world that have less money and less chance and possibility to do research. So she was really trying to put her theoretical framework that I'm going to explain into the world. So she speaks about something which is very important. It's called capabilities approach. Capabilities approach, and she developed that with an economist, okay, Amartya Sen. So we know that philosophy, psychology, economy go all together. So um, we have always the framework sometimes in our mind to assess human being, human well-being, on the fact that maybe a person, a country is rich. And we always speak about this GPD and GDP, and she says, no, it's not enough. We have to look also to a psychological approach, and important to the capabilities of people, and the capabilities are not merely the economic wealth or resources. The capabilities are health, education, participation in political social activity. And these are essential components of human development, and they are essential to live in a world. Our world now is a shared world. Okay, so because of technologies, because the advancement that we had in technologies and in science, is a shared world. So when we speak about the capabilities, we speak about the capabilities of the all human beings. And we have to consider that we live in this shared world. So she speaks about functionings and capabilities. So functionings are the various states of being and doing that a person can achieve. So I can achieve something like being healthy, being educated, participating in political activities. Okay, so this is what I can achieve. Instead, capabilities, this refer to the real freedoms and opportunity to achieve these functionings. So we cannot have um, a just in a shared society if we don't have real freedoms and opportunities. And she gives this name capabilities to these real freedoms and opportunities. And they are the step to achieve functionings. And so these real capability are bodily health, bodily integrity, and here I make the list that I'm not going to speak about it, but when we have all these capabilities that are there, okay, and they are very important, We can have control to one environment, so we can have political rights and material control to one environment, and plurality and universality. Um, so she's saying this list of capability is universal because we are all, as you can see here, we are all human beings. So we share that in our shared humanities. But these capabilities can be realized differently according to different cultural contexts. So she's not she doesn't say that everybody has to do the same things, although there is a shared humanity, no? And the capabilities approach is very important because it's telling you every human being possessing dignity, and society must respect and promote this dignity. So you can give them real opportunities to achieve these capabilities, and this should be in every society. And this is the application and implication. So are very important. So the implication are in policy. Okay, so improve human being well-being. Okay, that's very important. Gender justice and human rights. So when we speak about gender justice, human rights, you see, we are still um, so understanding that there is a nucleus, a central part in that is in the central part of universalism and in cosmopolitanism, and the fact that we are anyway part of this world, and everybody is part of this world with a shared world, because we speak about human rights, we speak about gender justice. We don't speak about gender justice in a certain country. We don't speak about human rights in a certain country. So, and the other books that you want to look at that is Cultivating Humanity. And Cultivating Humanity is really a book that is promoting education in a cosmopolitan sense. Okay, because we live in a shared world. We think about the gender rights. We think about um, capabilities, no, that give us human rights and gender rights. And as a student, or as teacher, as a lecturer, we have to educate and prepare the students to become global citizens, also because we move around the world, and that's good. That's good because we learn from each other. So there are three capacities of cultivating humanity. Okay, so this is the self-examination, and this goes back to ancient Greek. And if you have studied psychology, and if you studied a different kind of therapies, you know that there are this Socratic teaching, this Socratic dialogue, no, that you do with your patients or with your clients. If you are a counselor, if your patients, if you are a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So, and these Socratic dialogues that you can share with the person in front of you help you the self-reflection and education. So this is the first one. And then she emphasized the fact that we should be world citizen. Why is that? The concept is rooted in the Stoic idea of cosmopolitanism. So we are all human part of single community. Um, and the other important thing is the narrative imagination. Okay, again, it's very important. I'm not denying that we should focus on science, maths, because the world works with science and maths. They are very important, but it's also important to be uh, human beings that work in this world. And narrative imagination is the ability to empathize with other human beings, and you can learn this ability as well, or you can foster this ability just from primary school. Learning about stories and experience of the others. So when you are looking at the other face, the other people and the story and the experiences, you understand better yourself, because we have a shared, we are all human beings, so we work at the same way. Our mind is working in the same way. If we think about Freudian psychology, our subconscious work in the same way, or Jungian psychology, our shared consciousness work in the same way. It depends what kind of approach you have, but many philosophers, many psychologists say that a narrative imagination is very important. How can you have a narrative imagination? Well, if I grow up in maybe that's why where I grew up in Rome. I grew up in Rome at the time. I at the beginning when I was um, in a certain school, I met people coming from different parts of the world. But then later on, I just met Romans. That's not really good, because, they were sharing my same environment. And what was important there, what they should have done better, they should have done better reading literature, for example, or watching films that tell stories from other parts of the world. So we start understanding the world. So literature narratives are very important as well, and that's why she advocate, and actually I agree, as a psychologist and a philosopher and a pedagogist, that we should have a curriculum which is interdisciplinary, so which includes humanity, social science, and natural science, and they just integrate together in this curriculum. And personally, I think that we should look at the subject from different directions. So, and include always stories as well, because children, adolescents remember more stories that maybe some logical assumption, consequence, and conclusion. So, and she supports liberal education, so critical thinking and ethical thinking, a commitment to a common good. So also ethical thinking, ethics in good in school is very important, and children as well grapple with questions about ethics. Is that right? Is not right? If you have studied psychology, you know that children, adults, young adults have this ethical question. They want to know about the world. So that's why our approach goes beyond natural borders, because it's really trying to say that. Um, um, so, and again, in the book, we already defined and mentioned what capabilities are, and she says that they are really necessary for a dignitary life. And to foster these capabilities, we have to foster all parts of ourselves. So, um, also empathy. Okay, so this is just a summary of what we talk about. The fact that she supports human rights, we know through this idea of functioning and capabilities, and she supported education for global citizens. So cultivating humanity is really two keys word for her thinking. Okay, so because she say, if you have to teach in school, what you have to teach in school, in university, you have to teach global interdependence. So if something goes wrong in your country, it goes wrong in my country as well. We have to teach about cultural diversity, and cultural diversity in a shared humanity. And we have to teach about ethical responsibility. So my action have consequences. My action have consequences on your well-being, and your action have consequences on my well-being. And just go beyond the nation, as we know, with pollution, plastic. I drink a bottle of plastic in Italy, and then come up, I don't know, in the other part of the world, or in US, and then arrives in Italy shores, in the south of Italy. They find this they call it archaeoplastic. They find things that come from New York, are eaten in New York, typical food from US, and you find them in the shores of Italy. So that's an approach. And again, I'm here just to summarize, critical self-examination is important because you want to become who you can become, empathy and commitment. And now I want to speak another a philosopher that was born in London, studied in London, but he comes from Ghana. It's part of his family come from Ghana, and he unified the analytical skill of his dad, who was a lawyer, with with the narrative skill of his mother. She was writing children book, and it's very interesting. And he advocates for something which is called rooted cosmopolitanism, and his name is Appia. And you find lots of interesting talk on the internet, and also for Nussbaum. There are very interesting talk. I'm not going to everything he speaks about, because he speaks about the ethics of identity. He speaks about the fact that he was gay and he was trying to find his way. That's why he approached identity. He speaks about race as well. Um, Mm, and Appia, like many other philosophers and biologists, don't believe in the concept of race. And we know the concept of race from a biological point of view doesn't exist. It's a construction, and it's a social construction. Like many identity are social construction. And um, so uh, it goes there in different concept. But if you would like to read about him more, and he has a column in the New York Times. So let's go in his philosophy more. Ethics in a world of stranger. So his take on cosmopolitanism. Okay, so it says like we have to extend our moral concern beyond the local affiliation, because we have our identity is our construct is a constructed identity, is a play between in group and out group. And so we have to be to understand, we have to be aware of that. And we have moral obligation, because we live in what is an interconnected world. So you look at two strands of cosmopolitanism. First of all, we have a obligation to other regardless of their citizenship or identity. So means that we have to care about the right and well-being of all human beings. Okay. But on the other hand, we say we have this shared humanity, but we have to have respect for the differences. So it's true that there are differences among culture, among people. Um, so how we do that? By engaging conversation across cultural boundaries. Individuals can learn from one another and foster mutual respect. And it seems that is something trivial, but it's not trivial because we still don't do it. And another concept that he has, that changes in our society are sometimes looking at history. He has done a great work looking at history, looking at not just history, but tradition in different countries and people. Changes are bring back by are brought about from the concept of honor. So people care about honor, and changing things, important things, because they are not honorable. Um, and we have not just obligation to close to our family and friends, we have a moral duties to distant others, and we have to balance these obligations. Uh, so when we look at responsibility, sometimes we think about responsibility about our family and our friends, our circle of people. But again, it says that we are multiple layers of responsibility. And here we have again the fact that we share a world. We share a big world. So that's why we need a cosmopolitan education, because we cannot have just responsibility for our family, because we share this world, and our action have consequences on the other people, and the action of people that live in a different nation, they care about the nation, about the family, have action of ourselves. So it's important, again, a dialogue and understanding between culture, and individuals can learn from one another and foster mutual respect. This process of engagement helps bridge differences, and that's what brings moral ethics. So he criticized a strong form of nationalism that prioritizes national interests. Um, and he says we have a shared humanity, and it's the theme is coming from different authors from ancient Greek, the idea that we have this global citizenship, and we our own identity, with our family, with our nation, but we should see ourselves as part of a global community. And and that's his point, as it's the point of other author that we have seen. So he doesn't think, okay, there is this universalism, everybody has think the same way. No, it's true there are universal principles because we have a shared humanities, um, but that we have to think. Everybody has to think, do things in the same way. This universalism that is more Kantian is not really true there. And he's against this also relativism. Okay, everything goes is good. It's not that. Okay. There are moral standards that are culture specific and we have to respect them. But on the other hand, we have to think we are a shared humanity in a shared world. So, and human rights, anyway, must be there. So we have the foundation is human rights that address global injustice and protect the dignity of the people. So we have human rights there. And and then we have a culture specific way of implementing these human rights. But human rights are there. So it's a halfway approach. So these human rights are not contingent upon the nationality, the culture, the location. We know that, everybody needs to eat and needs to have health care, and everybody needs, the different capabilities that Nussbaum was talking about. So we have to think that we need dignified lives. So that's why his approach is cosmopolitan, and on the other hand, is fighting global inequalities and injustice. So, and he says that also that we need to care about the others. That is really important. We need to care about the others. Again, like we have a newsbound, again, empathy is here as a great role. Uh, Appia stressed the importance of imagining ourselves in other situations, understanding their experiences and challenges. Again, we have here literature, art, and storytelling are very important for that. So when we go in school, we need that. We need also art, which is public art. And Nussbaum was saying the same. Public art for everybody, because the public art, the art is for everybody, and is there. In the ancient Greek, we had tragedy, and then we can have statues and architecture that includes everybody and make them part of the society. And this is another way, okay, apart from education in school, public art. So here it's just repeating what I've already said in different slides, and then I can share the slides if you want. But here is saying at the end that cosmopolitanism encourages dialogues. We need that for dialogue, empathy, and commitment um, to global justice. And we need, as human beings, we must to integrate our responsibility, which are immediate, with the broader moral obligation to humanity and to future generation, as we are going to speak about Parfit as well. I don't know if you know Parfit is very famous for reason, a person, a future generation. It comes from England as well. So it's a prominent philosopher. And here we have his life. So um, Parfit unfortunately died in 2017, and ethics and moral philosophy for him is consequentialism. So he's saying the morality of an action is determined by its outcomes. Okay, the consequences, outcomes, consequences. And there is this mental experiment about future generation, which is repugnant. It gives us what is called a repugnant conclusion. So if you want I'm going to speak about it, but if you want to revise it, just type on the internet, on your web search motor, um, repugnant conclusion, and you find this paradox. So it's explained why it's important to have this mental experiment and to think about the world in also experimenting with just our mind, imagining things and having, um, you know, um, understanding the world this way. Uh, so, because it just don't stop about nowadays. So in Nussbaum and approach and the second philosophy we look at that, we're speaking about nowadays. He looks at future generation uh, through this to this experiment. So again, he's like Nussbaum or Paya. He says like we should not be consider just our personal national interests, but we have to apply this universally. And but he also speak about the future generation. I'm not going to go to the identity problem. I just want to know there is also these things that you can check on the internet, or read this book. It's not very important for us now. But I wanted just to speak about this experiment. So utilitarianism says that we should care um, about the utility of many possible people. So in this experiment, if we have a group of people who is living well for a while, I'll just go here, for a while in a society, and then this group of people is is becoming larger, larger, larger. And then at the end, we'll have lots of people that are living badly, so with bad standard in the same environment. And this is a repugnant at the end because nobody is really living his life. And in the same time, we are destroying the environment. And so we say utilitarianism is not really uh, good in this case. So we have to think about the consequences of our actions, and the consequences for action for the nation that live behind us, the consequences of our action in our shared humanity, and in particular regarding environment, sustainability, and resources for future generation. Okay, because if we apply if you apply utilitarianism concept, we say, okay, we have to save more people as possible. We have to live in an environment in which there are more people as possible, live a good life, and then people grow, like it's growing now without thinking that maybe we should stop this growing and think about consequences of our action. And this is about is ethics. So our action have consequences for us, for the nation, for the present, but they have consequences for the future generation as well. So, so this is the experiment, a thought experiment suggesting that a very large population with lives very worth living could be seen as better than a small population with high quality of life, according to utilitarianism, which is a kind of philosophy, an approach to philosophy. And he says, no, okay, at the end, this is repugnant because nobody is living a good life. So we should think about our action and the consequences of our action. So the conclusion is that Consequentialism is maybe a good way to think the consequences of our action, and we see that in education as well. So maybe if you're a father or mother already, if you think about what consequences have your action, you will tell them to your children as well. And because why it's repugnant this experiment, that thought experiment that he had, because it leads to a counterintuitive and morality troubling results. I'll skip that because I'm realizing that anyway I said that, and it's just repeating what Direct Parfit has written with different words, making the big clear. And now I'm conscious of the time, so I want to speak about cosmopolitan psychology, and psychology as an important part in this, because as a repeating the definition is the idea that cosmopolitanism is the idea that all human beings belong to a single community based on shared morality and values, transcending local and national borders. And we have global citizenship, cultural pluralism, so so valuing and respect diverse culture while seeking common ground. And we have all of this, in cosmopolitanism. And why it's important, psychology can be important for that, because we spoke about different philosophers that but it's also important to speak about psychology now, because psychology examines how individuals think, feel, and act. And there is all the branches of social identity, understanding how people define themselves in relation to group. And then there is cultural psychology, studying how cultural context shapes psychological processes. And moral psychology, investigating the foundation of moral thinking and behavior. So all of that, all these studies can help us understand ourselves, and not just understand ourselves, understand how can be part of this cosmopolitan communities that we need to be part of. And that's we need cosmopolitanism now. This is my point, this is my point of view, not just because of this philosopher showed through different arguments how cosmopolitan is part of ourselves, because for practical reason, not just as a psychologist or as a philosopher, but as a mother, we live in a shared world. And we cannot forget the consequences of our action. So we need to study psychology to understand better how we reason and how we can understand this in-group versus out-group dynamics. If you have done a bachelor in psychology, so if you study psychologies in school, you know how the research on social identity explain, you know, multiple identity and national and global identity, how they go together. You know, all the research on in-group versus out-group dynamics and how they can lead to conflicts. Um, so, um, you know the importance of intercultural competencies to live a good life, to move around as well. Um, so what I'm advocating is that philosophy and especially psychology should be also in schools, um, uh, as uh, as common knowledge for everybody. Because if you have philosophy in school from when the kids are 11 already, we can start to think about all these topics about ethics, about what is empathy, um, what is in group, what is out group, what is my social empathy, how to behave people. And so philosophy, psychology, and literature are very important for the development of human being to live in a world which is shared. And why also literature? Because we understand the world through stories. We are made of stories. So when I tell the stories of my life, I can tell it in different ways. And as a psychologist, clinical psychologist, and in the past I worked as a counselor, sometimes just changing the look to our stories, the narrative of our life can give a better perception and make us live better. So what I'm advocating in this talk is just to start studying this subject, as Nusban was saying, from 11 years old. Also in primary school, but from 11 years old, studying them properly and not forgetting literature, reading lots of books that come from different cultures. And reading these books from different culture, we can understand the differences, but also the similarities that we have from somebody coming from far away. And because not everybody has the possibility to travel. So education, um, psychologists as practical outcomes in education, in conflict resolution, and in policy making. So again, when we are going to vote and we will be a democratic citizen, you know, if we have a background, if we have a suitcase of all these kind of things that explain the world to us, we can make better informed choice. So cosmopolitanism and psychology are interrelated. And so this is the important conclusion here. We have the intersection of cosmopolitan psychology and the roots of psychology where philosophy is there, but also literature, because in this interdisciplinary approach, this one holds promise for addressing some of the most pressing issues of in our world, which is interconnected. Okay. I'm not going to speak about this because and there are case studies. For example, there are case studies of example peace initiatives in our world. Why don't study these case studies as well? It's important to study history, as well, but also this case study of example of peace initiatives. So how this peace initiative work in school. For example, we have the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, or the South Africa reconciliation process. Why don't study these case studies in schools? Okay, focusing on them. Why don't have, literature, psychology, philosophy, and peace as well? Peace with case studies. So all interrelated together. Finding a way in different curriculum to have peace, peace initiatives. So not speak about history, just war and everything else, because we know we repeat schemas, no? Focusing on peace initiatives. And I think that's interesting. And how can I do promoting cosmopolitanism? For example, this is a great initiative what you're doing now, because it's media and communication. You are inviting, you speaking about psychologists, but you're inviting also people coming from different world. Okay, I'm going to skip that because it's not really important. But again, not just case studies, but also how in some part, some nation, maybe there is more one really just one religious predominant, but other nation have different religions inside. So having always interfaith youth organization that can help. And we have also example. We have Interfaith Youth Core, we have Seed of Peace, and yeah, these are important things. So my final reflection, I've been saying that through philosophy, through literature, um, we can understand better the world. Um, in particular through literature for children, telling them stories of faraway cultures. What I'm advocating now, I'm saying that we live in a shared world, so we have to be citizens of the world, and we know that our actions have consequences for not just for our family, but for all the world. So my single action, and we never think so, but my single action can have consequences and can change things. So what I'm advocating for an education in school that help self-reflection and help empathy. How can I reach that? I can reach that through studying a curriculum which is interdisciplinary. I don't focus just on science, which is important, but focus on um, maybe philosophy, maybe literature, and psychology as well, because psychology teach us about in groups, out groups, teach us about ourselves, and if we are human beings who are well, who are centered, we can change the society in a positive way. So we have to learn about ourselves. But I'm advocating for something more. I think in every school should be a peace studies curriculum. A peace studies go with example of peace, because through our at least through my education, European education, I've learned a lot about history, and I've learned a lot about words, and instead we have to have examples in our life that can tell us where, how we can reach peace. And I think starting from schools, 11 years old children already that have this important example, and looking at example, we know Bandura, we know that all the psychology, social psychologies, example are important in our life. So not just if we don't live in a society, we don't live with parents, we don't live with families that can give us good example, at least in school we can study a good example of peace education, and really working on that. And that's it's my final conclusion. And um, I thank you, everybody. I spoke for a long time. I hope it was not too long, and I really hope that you enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your ideas has given us a lot to think about, and thank you for such an comprehensive presentation.
Thanks to you.
Now we have some questions. Thank you. If anyone has any question, please write it in the chat box, or you can open your mic and ask ma'am directly. Meanwhile, Shubham Bhaiya has some questions. He's asking, as being nativist Italian and working in Germany along with professionals from different corners of the world, what challenges you faced and how do you manage the same?
Oh, that's a really lovely personal question. I'm thanking you. So for me, it was the cultural clash. Okay, when you change culture, although we are all European, it's the cultural clash, and the cultural clash because they do things differently. So as I'm here, I have to learn their ways which are different. I have to understand it's very important. This and actually uh, it is a very educational experience for myself, because we have to think that the people that say things maybe in a very direct way, they are not rude, they are just direct. So and you understand better how when you're making something wrong or missing out something right. And it's very important for me, it's a very important experience, because I understand um, that in the world we say things in different ways, and there are different cultures. So I'm more than myself. I'm very happy that my son can understand this culture, my culture, other cultures that is in a class where there are people from our culture can understand them and can behave differently according to the people with whom he's speaking, and it's a very important skills for this world. And for me, was a um, great experience.
Thank you for sharing your experience, ma'am. His second question is, in the context of increasing global migration, how can host societies cultivate a cosmopolitan attitude while managing the social and economic challenges that come with it?
Okay, migration is due to the fact that we didn't have a cosmopolitan view in the past, because migration is people migrate. Okay, there are people who are curious and adventurous. They want to migrate for this reason, and actually they are really welcome, and because they bring the culture around the world. And other migrating people, people who migrate, and myself too, maybe they do for job reasons. And sometimes the nation needs this kind of people. This needs skilled workers. For example, Germany needs teachers. So, um, so when we migrate, we give we, we bring with us ourselves and the richness of our culture, and we enrich the culture. So through the inclusion, not through tolerance, but through the inclusion, we have really the inclusion. Imagine two circles that become one circle. What is in the first circle is brought in the second circle, become all together, no, in a big environment. And so they enrich the culture they are going to, yeah, to integrate, to not integrate, to include their inclusion. So when we go to a different culture, we are hoping for inclusion there and not integration, because if you look at integration, we become part of their culture. In inclusion, the two of them merge, and in merging, something beautiful. So they are learning from each other. So this is the first thing. And then many of the mass migration are due to the fact that there was no cosmopolitanism, in the sense that we didn't think that our actions had consequences for the other cultures. So I think we have to accept migration, um, because it's a result of our consequences as a world. A world that think that a war can solve problems. A world think that pollution is the way to go, and a world that doesn't think climate change is a problem. So what can we do? We have to change our ways. We have to change our ways, and yeah, that's it. So, and in order to yeah, to have inclusion in this world, we have to think that we have to start thinking that we need educations in schools, because the world is becoming more and more just one world.
Thank you so much, ma'am. His third question is, he would like to know your opinion on how do national political agendas and strong national identification hinder the development of cosmopolitan attitude, and what strategies can be employed to mitigate these obstacles.
Okay, this is a very big question. I thank you. Um, so what I think that it's true that there are different kind of nationalism. I think it's lovely to be proud of our origin, of our great things that maybe in our nation are there. So if you think about Italy, we had a great philosopher. We have Galileo Galilei. We had great scientists. So this is one thing. I'm proud of what this nation has reached, but I haven't done it myself. No, these are people who lived in my nation in the past, or live in my nation now. It's not what I've done myself. No, it's maybe what's the culture I'm part of has done. So I can be proud of that. And this is sort of nationalism. And I accept that, you know, they shared my same origin, my same, but this is something. But you can be proud of what has another nation has done as well, because you shared the origin as well. Yeah, they are also human. So it's 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 normal to be proud of what maybe, I don't know, great people in your nation have done because you share the culture. But if you think about it, you shared partly the culture or partially the gene pool of another nation. So we are all shared humanities. So why don't be proud of what another nation has reached as well? Because you are part of that as well. If this is what so there cannot be in group out group anymore. We are just an in group, and we have to think about that. And maybe we should this identity should be a bit blurred, no? A bit. We know it can change, but we have to understand that it's normal to be proud of what in Germany they had Einstein, they had but they are part of Europe and they are part of the world. So that's why it's a cosmopolitan attitude. We don't have to forget that you are a human being, and when we forget that, it's a problem. So it's true that I'm Italian, but first of all, I'm a human being.
That was a deep question. That was a deep answer of a deep question. Now, anyone else would like to ask any question? Please write in a chat box. Okay. Uh, should I
Yeah, please. I don't see it
write it?
now.
Okay.
I pop it, but I don't see. Yeah, please.
Okay, so Bhaiya is writing, there's an interesting quote. I do not want my house to be walled in on all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the cultures of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. But I refuse to be blown off my feet by any.
Okay, I need to see this quote in the chat properly. Sorry. Okay.
Should I read it again?
No, no. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very interesting quote. It means that you are open to the world, and it's very important. But yeah, yeah, we should have boundaries. That's normal because we have human beings and we have our own rights. So as we teach in psychology, so when we have we sometimes we have people who wants they donate a lot and they don't have boundaries. So and but on the other hand, we should be open. It's a difficult situation to manage, and we have to learn to do that. And again, education is really the primary means, because it's the primary means to learn that. It's something difficult path to have to reach it. You have to go to a difficult path to reach it, but if we teach children that, it's very important. So there are my rights as a human being, my rights, and logically we should protect the rights of every human being. And in order to do that, also we should be open to other influences. So it's a very difficult middle way, and we can reach it just through through education. There is no other way, psychological growth. And so again, the importance of the school and the importance of doing that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, Thank you so much for answering every question with knowledge and so generosity. If anyone has any more questions, please write it on a chat box or we will wrap the session. Please go ahead, Bhaiya.
So yeah, I just want to express my gratitude towards you, ma'am, for such a deep, you can say, delivery of the session. I have personally got so many thoughts to contemplate, and there are some deep thoughts which will, I guess, I can reflect later on. And I assume that all of them has enjoyed this, you can say, this session for their evolving growth. So I am so grateful for Susma ma'am and all for connecting us with such a deep and a knowledgeable person. Thank you so much, ma'am.
And I actually, I'm grateful to you all because this gave me the chance to write better my thoughts. And I'm grateful that you are here to hear me. And actually, I want to say thank you to Dr. Susha that helped me to invite me. Thank you if you're there. Thank you so much. And thank you for the question. And this for me was a great honor and a great pleasure as well. Really. Thank you, Dr. Sushma.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was great to learn from you today.
And
It was a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much again.
thank you. So I'm going away,
Hello,
closing
am I
down.
audible?
Yeah, no, not really totally, but I think you thank me. I'm. Shall I close down? Okay, the session.
Ma'am, she might be facing some network issue. Thank you so much on the behalf of PsyConnect and looking forward to further collaboration in near future. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
again. Yeah, we can
Hello.
call it a day.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye.